Good morning, everyone. This is Anissa from Whistler, BC, Canada, and this morning we're here to talk about podcasting. For a lot of us, we have listened to a podcast, have looked at the idea of sharing our message through podcasting. In the group that I've started, the ladies meeting, we actually have two podcasts. One is focused on getting to know our members, and the other is shared as a round group. And it's been a really interesting way to get to know other people within the group, find out more about their message, their story, and give them opportunity to share it. But with Michelle and Braden that are joining us here, they have created a way for you to share your message and create your own podcast. So I wanted everyone to have that ability because it is a bit of a learning curve. It's taken me quite a few years to get the guts up, to be online, to be on video, to record, and there's some skill involved as well as just the technical parts of it. So they've created a program that I wanted to share with you that makes it easy. So Michelle and Braden, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having us. Excited to be here.
Michelle, do you want to just tell us a little bit about your company and the fact that you guys are brother and sister is pretty cool.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Michelle, and thanks for having us here today. Super exciting to be able to share our message. Braden and I have been partnered together for not that long in business, but we've been together in our whole life. We are brother and sister. We've known each other our whole life. So it's been an awesome transition into becoming business partners in the last year as well. So I've been interested in podcasting and talking about podcasting before most people knew what the heck I was talking about. That goes back to 2012 when I became a mom, and I love having a baby and being at home, but my brain is so entrepreneurial and focused on business that I was afraid of losing some of that while I was at home with a baby. So I turned on my Apple TV and was like, hey, podcasting, let's check out this. And I got hooked right away on all these different podcasts. So every time we were out walking the stroller or, playing on the carpet, there's always a podcast going on in the background, or driving in the car. So I'm hoping my son will have picked up on some of that too as a baby. So that's how I got interested in podcasting. And fast forward to today, 7 years later, where we've launched over 40 podcasts in the last 6 months for our clients and helping them get their message out there in the world. So that's a bit of my background, more in online business and marketing and podcasting. And I'll let Braden tell you a little bit about his background too.
Sure, thanks. So for the last 10 years, I've been working in nonprofit, teaching people how to find their dream jobs as an employment counselor. And I've started doing the same thing with kids. So my partner and I started a nonprofit called Build a Biz Kids, where we teach children ages 7 to 12 how to find their passion and start a business with that. We even had a little market day where they launched their businesses. After watching kids for the last year follow their passions and start their own businesses, I've been inspired to do the same. And by doing so, I jumped on board with Michelle, following along with her genius of what's out there in the podcast world, how to turn a podcast into your entire content hub for your whole business. It's very exciting to see the way things are growing, and very excited to be here to be supporting her business and supporting yours as you guys launch into the podcasting world.
Excellent. Well, welcome. And I hope that people will see that they can get through the technical aspects of it and some of the marketing challenges that might think really hard because you've taken it and made it into a system. So Michelle, you guys take it away. I'm going to sit and listen.
Okay, awesome. Here we go. So our business is called Amplify You. So we believe that your uniqueness is your genius, and unleashing it is ours. And so what that really means is that you have a message to share out there in the world. And even if you're sitting there thinking, yeah, I'd like to podcast, but I don't know what to podcast about, that's perfect. We're going to help you figure out what your uniqueness is and how you can monetize it and turn it into a business. That's one of our favorite things to do.
We believe that, your authenticity is what the world needs to hear and can have a huge impact. So through the program, we're helping you determine what it is that you want to broadcast to the world, help you find that message and get it out there to more places.
Awesome. So what are we going to do today? We're going to talk about how to avoid the 4 things that will hold you back. This is what we've seen with working with so many clients over the last few years. Why podcasting will give you the best return on your investment for marketing dollars in 2019, and how your uniqueness is your genius and unleashing it is ours, like we just mentioned. And also how you can do, what are the 5 steps to get you launched and started right away, the fast track.
So is this for you? We are working with coaches, authors, speakers, wellness professionals, and entrepreneurs across the board. And this is for you if you have a message and you're dying to get it out there to the world. And for you if you're absolutely done with not getting constant lead flows into your business, and if you're done with feeling like you're talking to crickets, and if you want the best return on your investment for your marketing hours and your marketing dollars.
Awesome. You are in the perfect place. So no other place will you get a brother and sister team with our background and experience and knowledge that we have. You are also in the right place because we are in the golden age of podcasting. This is what they're calling it right now. There's not been a better time to get started with podcasting than in 2019. And number 3, if you stay through the whole webinar, we're going to give you a couple of different things. One, we're going to give you a workbook to kind of get started with. And then we're also going to let you know where you can find out the super secret 20 places to submit your podcast in 2019. So there's 20 places that you can put your podcast out to that will then create a spider web effect of getting your podcast out to many more platforms as well. So again, I'm Michelle Abraham, and I'm a mom, a serial entrepreneur. I'm on my 3rd or 4th business now. I've had a few brick and mortar businesses, which really cramped my freedom, and I'm all about having a freedom lifestyle business where I can take my business and go anywhere, where my last few businesses have been brick and mortar and kind of cramped my freedom lifestyle. So once we kind of figured out that a freedom lifestyle is what I was really, truly passionate about, we helped my husband quit his job, and we moved from Vancouver. We sold our house and we moved to the Sunshine Coast, where we live on the lake half the year. The other half of the year we travel in our RV with our kids all over North America. So I've got 17 years experience in sales and marketing. I had 7 years in the wellness industry, 9 years as an entrepreneur in 3 different industries, and I've also been working in podcasting for about 7 years now. So I've been speaking about podcasting, and that expert panel podcasting picture up there was taken in 2012, probably, where not many people knew what podcasting was all about. So I'm off to Asia in a couple of days to speak on the stages, 3 different countries, all about how podcasting can help change their life too and create a freedom lifestyle business for them as well. So I'm really excited to start sharing our Amplify You message in a whole other continent and a whole bunch of other different countries.
I'm Braden Ricketts. I took the opposite approach as my sister, and I went the serial employee route. I went job to job, committed for long terms, really stayed the course. But in all that, there was the consistent theme of helping people discover their passion and pursue it. Everything from artist management, where we worked with musicians who were going on world tours, to employment counseling, where we help people find their dream jobs, to now working with the kids to build a business. It's all on the same theme of pursuing that passion, that goal, getting out of your comfort zone, and doing something challenging that you will love and be rewarded with. So together, we're Amplify You. And since October of just last year, we've launched over 40 podcasts. It's been a pretty fun and exciting time.
Yeah, I think our most exciting week was last week, where we actually launched 5 podcasts in 1 week. That was a little bit crazy. So what are we going to talk about today? So today we've been talking about, a little bit about who we are. So thanks for letting us share our story. Now let's talk about podcasting, what the big hype is and what's happening right now. What are the 4 things that are stopping you from launching a show? And we will show you how you can jump in podcasting by following our 5-pillar process.
Podcasting, if you don't know what it is, digital recordings made broadcast available across mobile devices, computers, now car stereos. It's taking over the world. It's the new YouTube. It is audio on the go. It's your message taken with people. And why should you stop thinking about it and start doing it?
So podcasting has been slowly gaining popularity. As I mentioned many years ago when I was started looking at it, there wasn't very many podcasts out there. Now there's over 500,000 people podcasting, which is pretty cool. It's the most underutilized form of marketing, though. So your listeners also become very loyal because they're listening into your ears, right? So you're in their ears, which is very, very intimate. So that means your KLT, which is your know, like, and trust factor, it becomes it just expedites that process of getting to know you, like you, and trust you. Therefore, they're going to want to purchase from you. So by being so intimate in your ears, it really takes that journey a little bit quicker. So it allows you to pull clients in naturally and give you a return on your time and money spent producing a podcast. So basically, the way we look at podcasting is that podcasting is your hub for your content marketing. So instead of stretching yourself thin and thinking about all the 20 different platforms you need to post different posts on and creating images and getting out there and trying to like do it all at one time, we believe that we use podcasting as your one hub. And so by creating 3 or 4 podcasts a month, which requires you to sit down and record for 30 minutes, 40 minutes at a time, and that is maybe 3 to 4 times for 1 month. And by doing that, we're able to get your entire month's worth of content created from that. So we'll take you from video, we'll syndicate that to all these different platforms, cut it up into pieces for social media, turn it into images, and do it all as one complete system. So that's basically the way we see podcasting, as instead of it being another thing you have to do on another platform, it's do it once on this platform, and it actually will take care of all the rest of your content for the rest of the month, which is very exciting.
It used to be something that, like Michelle says, she'd be talking about podcasting and people didn't quite understand what it was. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but Apple CarPlay has become a big thing. The car stereos now come preset with all your Apple apps, including podcasting. When Michelle saw that in her truck, she knew that's when podcasting was here to stay. Apple TV, again, where Michelle discovered it, Apple TV now has a podcast, so you can listen to it instead of a radio station at home. Again, creating that talk radio content around your house, creating more exposure to the wonderful world of advice. And now that Google has opened up a podcast platform of their own, we know that podcasting is not going anywhere. And hopefully the analytics are coming with it.
Well, and I was excited to see that our podcast got on Spotify, which is something that at the gym we play all the time. So the access of having the podcast through Spotify, that's just another option. It's so easy for people. They already have it on their phone.
And what's really crazy is Spotify is such a huge fan of podcasting and sees it as the next frontier platform. They've actually spent, was it almost 25 or 250 million?
$240 million.
240 million, wow. On buying Gimlet, which is a podcast network, as well as Anchor, which is a podcasting app.
My favorite.
Yeah. So that there's the big guys are seeing this as the new frontier. It's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. So podcasting today is where blogging was in 2007. So that would be last year in 2018. So blogging, if you think about it, it was a big, huge thing. There were so many people that got on that bandwagon. Lots of people made some money from it, becoming bloggers. And that was really great. Now, if you think about blogging, it's not super profitable. It's not really, there's so many blogs out there. So in 2018, there was a statistic that said there's one podcast for every 10,000 blogs out there. So you're much better to go ahead and get a podcast going than starting a blog. So just putting that out there. And besides, you can transcribe your podcast into a blog post. So you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone there. So as we mentioned before, it is the golden age of podcasting, but there's so much more room in your niche and there's so much room out there. And it's attention marketing. So, and what you're doing is not shouting from social media. You're inviting people to come to your show where you create the content and they're going to be drawn in by your magnetic personality. So you're doing pull marketing, which is amazing and much more easier to take people to the next level working with you than standing on many different social media platforms and shouting out there about your products and services. So this is a much cooler way of doing it.
And we find with the people that we've worked with, there's 4 main things that stop people in their tracks with it before producing their podcast. The first one is fear, whether that's fear of failure or fear of success. We don't know. So occasionally, we're afraid of how big and successful we can be, because then we're playing our new level at with the new devil, right? So the game gets bigger. Also, the fear of being heard. Occasionally, some of us, myself, I am a bit of a perfectionist. I don't want to say what I'm thinking until I've crafted it perfectly and the world's going to hear me. But that loses the authenticity. So the clients that we work with, we talk about really just coming from the heart, being who you are, because the clients that are attracted to you and your authentic personal self are the ones that are going to be engaged in your coaching programs, in your speaking events. They're the ones that are going to want to move forward and purchase your programs.
Yeah, basically to tag on to what Braden was just saying, if you sound like a real human, then you're much more likely to have a better audience rather than deleting all the ums and ahs out of your show. It's not relatable. So I try to be as relatable as possible. And most of our clients do very, very minimal editing. So one of the things that people think you need to do a lot of and learn a lot of is this technology piece. And this is one of the hugest hurdles that really prevents people from getting started. They'll get an idea of a show, they'll get interested in it, they'll start putting pieces together, and then they hit this technology thing. How do I record it? What do I use? And all this kind of stuff. What kind of equipment do I need? So we used to think we needed what we see on that picture above, all these different microphones and amplifiers and all this crazy stuff. Really what you need is a microphone and a laptop, and that's really it. In Asia, when I go and speak on stage, I'm actually going to do a live podcast right from the stage. So I'm going to show people how easy it is to actually come on stage. I'm going to have someone that I'm interviewing there. I'm going to press record just like we did today on this webinar, and we're going to record our podcast right from the stage. So
when I think the easiest one I've ever done is I just used this as a microphone. It was so easy with Anchor. It was beautiful and so simple.
Exactly. Yeah. So the platform that Anissa uses is called Anchor, and it's an app on your phone. So really you can just pick up your phone, press the app there, and just start talking into your iPhone. iPhone's got, pretty good microphone in there, so it sounds totally fine. You don't even need to go out and buy a microphone to that extent, right? So you just start on there, get comfortable there, then you can move to the next type of podcasting if you want to try it out too, right? So there's no right or wrong way of doing it. That's the really cool thing about it being like the Wild West out here right now, is that there are no rules or regulations as to how you need to do things with what kind of equipment to sound perfect, to have the same show as everybody else, that kind of thing. It's up to your creativity, your interest in learning some technology, or just pressing play on your iPhone, and that's totally fine.
Perfectionism, I'll be honest, is my biggest barrier. Analysis paralysis is where I get stuck. I want to know what every domino is going to fall before I press the first one. But there is the saying that I've been beginning to live by is, if you're not embarrassed by your first product, you shipped too late. I hope to be embarrassed by everything I've produced this year by this time next year, because I've grown that much. As long as I focus on learning by each process, I know that we're going to get better along the way. Great analogy I heard was that if you're always thinking that each time you speak, it's a performance, you will never feel ready. But if each time that you press record, you're practicing, and the next time you're practicing, you're always going to be getting better, and you're always ready for the next time you press record.
One of my favorite sayings that I've really learned to embrace is better done than perfect, because once it's done, you can move on to learning and growing and doing it better. Because I had set down a goal of 8 people I wanted to interview for my first podcast. And one of them was Ricky Shetty. One of them was Di Manuel. I had these, and there's still some of them I haven't had the guts. And, I've now interviewed Ricky, but it was like, I think 6 years after that goal that I set to feel like I was good enough to, there's just, you got to just get over yourself and worry about whether or not you're worthy or not. Because the second you ask somebody if they would like to do a podcast, I've very rarely ever got a no. And if you ever listen to Oprah talk about every single one of her interviews that she's done with people, even the most famous people in the world, they go, was that okay? How did I do? The most important, most confident people that you can possibly think of when interviewed by Oprah, how did I do? Did I do okay? Was it fine? And to me, that was like a little opening to just do it, because they're just as nervous as you are.
100%. I love that.
That's awesome. So one of the other things that we think about is time. So we think that podcasting, like I mentioned before, is like adding another thing to our list of to-dos, and it's this big overwhelming project in my eyes. When I first got started, it was complicated. There was lots of pieces to it. It was going to take up so much time, and it made me procrastinate on doing it for a long time. And once you get into the hang of it, it's super easy and takes not very much time for the amount of return you're going to get, and exposure you're going to get, the expert positioning you're going to get as well. So super cool way of, like Anissa said, getting in touch and getting involved with other people's businesses and growing your brand by interviewing other people. There is hardly anyone that's going to say no, because this is a platform. You're now a media source. You're allowing them to get their message out in the world if you're interviewing them. And that is huge. So people who are releasing books and programs and courses, and they have a new movie coming out, they're more likely to say yes, because they get to use this as a platform for them to showcase about themselves too. So the time that you're spending getting to know these people, you're building relationships that's going to increase your network as well, which is really cool. And you're sending your message out into the world as well as an expert. And so the time that this takes to record, 4 30-minute episodes a month really is all you need to do. It doesn't even need to be 30. It could be 15 minutes, could be 20, could be 45, whatever you want to do. Then we've created a process and system that all you do is record and we do the rest. So you don't even have to learn all this extra stuff. You just need to learn how to press record and get your message out there.
Like you said earlier, Michelle, when you take the podcasting as the content generator and we syndicate that and pull from that to create a Facebook post, an Instagram post, a YouTube video, then you're really leveraging that content creation time to have more time to do the other things you need to do in your business.
Absolutely. I think trading in most businesses, the 10 hours of content creation a week in trading it into 30 minutes, right? I think that's how big of a difference it's going to make in some of the things that you do.
So like we said, a few things to be aware of is the danger of listening to old advice, the perfection trap, analysis paralysis, and trying to do it yourself and getting overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed to the point where you just give up and don't do it anymore.
But here's what we know about podcasting. It's big in South Korea. Michelle's going to go see how big she can get it in Malaysia. Where else, Michelle?
Philippines and Singapore.
Fantastic. In Canada, we're at 28% of people listen to a podcast in the past month. United States, cool. 33%.
I was surprised at the statistics from Sweden. So that was cool.
They're at the forefront.
Actually surprised that Australia and the US are the same as well. That's surprising to me. Okay, so here's what we know about listeners. 49% of listeners listen to the podcast from home, which that's quite surprising as well, seeing as it's a take it with you kind of platform.
I'm one of the 22% that does the majority of their listening from the car. I spend a lot of time traveling to and from my son's school, my son's sports, and we've decided that car time is traffic university. And we love listening to podcasts when we're on the road. We're learning all kinds of new things, and it really stimulates conversation. It's great for his little mind and mine too.
I think that's the traffic university is something I've heard a couple times this month actually, and I think it's totally true.
Nice.
I love it. I think that's so cool. And it's, the other day we were driving and he had heard recently a podcast that we were interviewed on in the car. This is my nephew, Braden's son. And he was like, Anisha, I heard you on the podcast. I heard you on the car radio on a podcasting interview. That was so cool. So that was really neat to hear him getting excited about hearing us on a podcast. It's very cute. So here's what else we know about podcast listeners. So podcast listeners generally are loyal. Once they find a show, they'll stick with it and listen to it more. They're affluent, means they have above average income. And just to put this in perspective, in order to open up a iTunes account, you usually have to have a credit card. So that means they're already positioned to be a purchaser of online products and services. So keep that in mind. And they're also usually educated. So back about 6 years ago, the demographic was CEOs, males, corporate America. Those were the main listeners, above average income. Now it's more, we'll see some more statistics coming up. It's averaged out a little bit more for more female listeners and not so corporate. So, which is pretty cool. 80% of listeners listen to all or most of the podcasts each week, and each listener listens to an average of 7 shows. So I just want to stop here for a second, because this is a huge point. Although it's not very big on the bottom there, what I just said is that 80% of listeners listen to the entire podcast or most of each episode. So like I said before, a 30-minute episode, that's like 30 minutes of someone's attention that you are getting, which is unreal in today's day and age when time and attention is the currency. So what I mean by that is, if you are going to be on YouTube, you have 30 seconds to capture someone's attention. On Facebook, you have maybe 3 seconds to capture someone's attention as they're scrolling by. Same with on Instagram, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. And Anissa, maybe you can speak to this being in social media as well. People's attention is so little and so valuable that this platform once has this listen rate of the average is 30 minutes that they listen to, which is insane. So I just want to put that out there, as if you're thinking about which platform.
I think that like FOMO, that fear of missing out on Facebook, is such a prevalent thing. Like, people are worried about what they're going to miss, so then they don't get the value from what they're actually touching on in Facebook. And so if they're a podcast listener, you often find they're more they're not so worried about missing out, and they want to go deep into different subjects. And so it is that, like you said, it's a different type of person that is necessarily scrolling through Facebook versus in their car looking for a podcast, looking to add to their education, they're curious people for an educational side of things, or they want to know more about society, versus they're not worried necessarily about missing out on what other people are doing. So it is, I think there is some different ways to look at it too, as to why they are listening to those 7 shows.
Absolutely. And I think also another thing to keep in mind is that we're not having a podcast. You're not able to interrupt someone. So you don't just all of a sudden appear in their newsfeed interrupting what they were doing, or your YouTube video just doesn't pop up on their screen after the last video ended. So they have to search you out and they have to look for you. So they're being intentional with their time and their attention. And they're then therefore going to listen longer, because like you said, they want to learn something, whereas you're not interrupting in the middle of it. So that's why they weren't expecting that with that interruption marketing, but they're expecting it, they're going out looking for it. So I think there's a huge difference there. I just wanted to make that super clear, and really illustrate how amazing that is, that you can capture someone's time and attention for that long.
Well, I know, for example, the ladies meeting roundtable that we're doing, we're talking about hormones, and we've got everyone on there is over 40, or, most of them are over 50. I'm not quite there yet. I got 2 more years to go. But the people that are already on there, so I've already got 6 people interested in the topic who are going to go back and watch it or share it with a friend. And it's on a topic that is very specific to a certain target market, who are out looking for the answers to that. And they're looking for people that actually have real stories that they can relate to. So it's like you said, it's pull marketing. You're not having to push it out. They're already out looking for what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
We have a great example of that coming up in just a second. So with over 525,000 active shows and over 18.5 million episodes. That's out there as of 2017. And that was before the golden age of 2018 came around. So it's only growing from there. 50% of all homes are podcast fans, and that's over 16 million homes.
So here's what we know about the men and women demographic is that women are 44% of listeners are women, and men still 56%. So that's grown over the last few years. As you can see, the women listeners has increased quite a bit since 2013. So they were almost non-existent, with just over 10% listening. So now it's available for more people to see. So this is one of our clients, Ryan Yokomi, and he has got a great testimonial of his show. His show's reached 100,000 downloads about a year into his show, which is amazing. And he has just really, really been one of our hugest fans for our business. And he's just seen really cool growth in his business where, before they used to have to do this huge launch for their program and, spend weeks like doing videos and marketing and, sending emails out and everything. And now they just mention it on their podcast and they have a wait list. So it's just pretty cool. That is a great position to be in as a coach who is going to be teaching people all about how to grow their businesses and stuff. So it's been pretty awesome experience for his show. His wife also has a show, and what's really cool about what they do, and this is a sneaky inside trick for you guys to use too, is that if they are interviewing each other, they both use the same episode for each other's shows. So they're just killing two birds with one stone by interviewing and talking with each other, and then they each get an episode out of it for their own shows, which is pretty cool.
And as you were saying this about speaking to that niche market, this is Emily Clark, and she does the show Love Your Anxiety. She's speaking directly to one person when she talks. She talks to herself from a few years ago about the things she's learned. From that, people feel that engagement and draw to continue the conversation with her. She ends her show with an invitation for them to connect with her directly on Instagram, and or through her Facebook as well. And through that, she has just launched in October. Just in February, she had 12 discovery calls with clients. 11 of them came from her podcast. And those 11 were from all over North America. They're from South Africa. They're from Europe. They were from Australia. And these are all people that have found her show and her niche of speaking to herself about anxiety.
Yeah, so she was able to actually add an extra $1,000 a month to her bottom line just from February having a few of those phone calls. So now she's set up for the next 12 months. So it's really cool to be able to see her return on her investment and time spent. She says podcasting is her number one income producing activity in her business now. So her entire focus is on podcasting. Another thing that she said, which you can hear more about this on our Amplify You interview with her. We have these interviews where we interview our podcasters, and it's called Behind the Mic. So we really love drawing up the story behind each show and why they're popular, why they decided to start the show, and how podcasting has helped their business. And so one of the things she also said on this particular episode is that she now is focusing 100% on her podcasting because the return is so great for her in her business. But she's also really, really clever is the way that she's collecting information from her clients on how to use that in her next episodes. So when people join with her, she asked her a few questions on the Facebook group about what's happening with their anxiety, what's bothering them, that kind of thing. And from there, she's able to see some really good insights specifically for her audience that she can then turn into future content. So that's where all her content ideas are coming directly from her clients. So she knows that they're getting what they want out of the show. And so she's speaking directly to them on the show, which is fantastic. I think that's why she's seeing so much success in her show.
So we want you to let us amplify you. Is that an awkward statement? Let us amplify you. We've developed a system that can get your podcast launched without you having to learn all of the technology pieces and pulling your hair out to figure out your message and get it out to the world in less than 30 days. Even if you don't think you have enough content, we can help you with that. We have a 5-pillar process. We talk about creating, recording, monetizing, syndicating, and launching your podcast. And we'll go into what each of those pillars look like.
So in pillar 1, we're going to create your show. This is where we're going to talk about, what kind of show do you want to have? How often do you want to have it out there in the world? Are you going to do a podcast 7 days a week, 1 day a week, 3 days a week? Who is your audience? Who are you going to talk specifically to? And all the fun things that go along with that.
This is the fun part of creating your message, where you're discovering your voice, what it is you want to share with the world. Because once you start sharing, you'll find that your frequency broadcast out there is going to bring the perfect clients back to you.
Right. So again, in this part, we're going to talk about the purpose and the design of your show, topic and avatar, and format and frequency.
Mm-hmm. Pillar 2 is the recording. Really, this should just be press record on your Zoom link, on your Anchor app, on your, where else are we going to record? There's so many options, but we want to really simplify this process for you. a microphone, whether it's on your phone or plugged into your computer. It's the simplest format possible. We get you through all the technology hurdles and get you ready to record.
Yeah, and what's unique about what we do, Brandon, you can flip the slide on this one. What's unique about what we do is that we actually will show you how to do it and how to learn how to do it yourself, but then we'll also offer you the opportunity to do it with us, and you don't have to do it yourself at all. So we give those people who are interested in learning the opportunity to learn it, and those who could care less about it and more just focus on their content, then we just will take it over and do it for you.
We want you to stay in your genius, which is your content and creating content and value for your clients. So we want you to stay in that genius. We take care of the rest for you so that you can continue producing.
Yeah, there's very few things that you need to actually do in your show in order to launch your show. And so that would be create the title of it, the artwork, the intro, the outro, and your first couple of episodes. And that's it, really. That's all there is to it. And you can literally do that in a few days.
Speaking of launch, we'll get you on iTunes and syndicated across all of the platforms. The whole launch is, again, a little bit of a technical hurdle for some people getting onto a syndication platform. But again, we walk you right through that process and or completely handle it for you. It's all about your preferred learning style. So it's all about the create, the record, and launch. And we love that photo. We just had to sneak it in there.
My favorite.
He's so cute. And so what syndication means for those of you that are a little unaware of that word or how it applies to podcasting is basically you have a podcasting host just like you would have a host for your website. And so once you put your show on there, you get a little piece of code that's called an RSS feed. And that RSS feed then can be submitted to all these different platforms like iTunes and Google, Radio Public, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, all these millions of platforms. And so we will then put your show out to these different platforms. And once you're on the main, like 5 or 6 platforms, it also gets picked up by all sorts of other new apps. There's new platforms coming out daily, weekly, monthly. As we said, the podcast industry is just exploding, so there's new opportunities for platforms all the time. We found one the other day where actually they're going to pay you to be a listener. It's called Podcoin. So check that one out. So you can actually sign up for that one and listen to shows and get paid in points and then exchange points for gift cards as a listener, which is super cool, I think. So there's all sorts of new opportunities happening, but we're going to make sure that your show gets onto at least 20 to 25 platforms, and we'll show you how to do that.
Michelle and I really like to spend some time in this area brainstorming some fun creative ideas with you, because some of the other things you can do for syndication is you can take, as we mentioned before, that podcast content and we can have it transcribed into a written format, which we can then use syndicate as a blog, or you can pull out certain lines and use them as tweets. They could be your quotable tweets. You can put them on an image and use those as Instagram image. You could pull out the video file of your recording and you can splice that up as teasers for your Facebook video posts. There's all kinds of ways to take the content you create and syndicate it across all the social media platforms.
And not to mention, taking it one step further, you can create your transcriptions into a book, become a published author. You can also take your show and look at like the main 12 themes in it, create that as modules in a course too. So, I think the content that you're creating can be used in multiple different ways, because just because people hear it in a podcast doesn't mean they're going to recognize the same content in video or in written form. So it's not like you're repeating the same thing over and over. You're just giving different learning styles the opportunity to see your content in different ways.
Well, and we've actually, funny you mentioned that, because we planned 7 podcasts for the hormone topic, and our host, the lady who's I invited to host it, she has so much content, but we're getting to space it out because we're just doing it once a week, and she's all of a sudden realizing how much writing she's like, oh, I've got a new PDF, I've got a new download. I'm like, okay, you know what? We're going to keep doing this. At the end, we have a course. It's very easy that we have a masterclass on women and hormones, and the stories that are in it are just amazing. And hopefully we can take some of the fear out of aging, because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go through menopause. What the heck? And then there's women that are on this podcast who are like, I didn't go through it. It's no big deal. So getting to hear those stories and share that content, I'm realizing we have a masterclass on aging just right there that we are just slowly creating without having to take out any huge chunks of our time, but just being consistent. And that's what the podcasting has done for one of our members.
That's beautiful.
And what I really want to iterate here is that, we're not podcasting is not like go create some more content on top of the content you're already creating. It's like exactly what you said. And instead, like, think of different ways that you can use that same content, repurpose it, right? Same with like Facebook Lives. Like some of our clients did Facebook Lives forever. Well, where are they now? They're just sitting in the bottom of Facebook somewhere. So you got to pull those out. You can edit them and send them back out for videos. Or, if you're going to do a Facebook Live, you can actually do it where you talk to your audience for the first 5 minutes, stop talking to them, record 20 minutes of content, then talk to your audience again. And you can use that middle 20 minutes for a podcast, right? So
yeah, I made that mistake actually, because I did a 30-day money challenge, like private and personal money challenge, which we created a spreadsheet and everything. And for 30 days, I got on Facebook Live and I did this, and I realized, I can now go down and I can go back and reload this, but if I'd been thinking it through a little bit more, like you said, I really would have had a 30-day course. Yeah. Which I'm going back and doing, and we're doing the YouTube and backdating, but with a little more thought, it could have been a lot easier.
We're all about simplifying the process and really expanding the reach with the content that you're already creating. So not to add more stress and more things to do for you, just create it once and use it. So that's why we're spending so much time on this particular pillar, is because it's so important to get the hang of this, and that it can save you so much time in the download and in the long run.
When I think you become more satisfied with what you did create because you are reusing it, it becomes so much more valuable. So you enjoy doing it even more.
Exactly. I can give you another example of this. My family and I wanted to go RVing for 6 months last year, and I had no clue about RVing. So I said, hey, how can I figure this out and do this as part of my business? So I went out there and I created a virtual summit all about families who wanted to go RVing. So it was the very first family RVing virtual summit. So I found 25 experts in the industry of RVing who've been doing it with their families. I interviewed 25 of them, but I thought, okay, I'm going to have these 25 experts here. What else can I do with this content? So I decided, as I had them here for an interview, I'm going to spend 15 minutes interviewing them for a podcast. 20 minutes, they're going to deliver some content that can be put into a course or into the summit. And then at the end of it, I had 25 podcasts, 25 summit interviews, and then those summit interviews go into a locked space. So I am charging for the summit recordings. Now I'm transcribing those recordings and getting them into a book and a course as well. So now I've created 4 or 5 different pieces of content from that 1 hour interview with each of those experts. So maximizing the time you have with also some celebrity experts. One of the things that we're doing in our business right now is having an expert interviewer come in and just spend an extra 15 minutes with us for something secret that's insider for our insider club only, instead of it being like all just for podcasting, right? So figuring out different ways while you have these super cool experts on podcasts with you as well. What else can you do with them?
Well, and speaking of celebrity, it was great to see your podcast listed right beside Tony Robbins the other night. That was amazing.
How cool is that? I could have planned that better for her.
You can tell we like this part, this syndication. This is where we jam. There's so many ideas, but all of those ideas do come back to the monetizing of it. So where are you sending the people? What is your call to action? You can have all of this content creation, but we need to give them an opportunity or a platform for the clients to then continue the conversation with you. If they've just spent 30 minutes with you in their ears, they're hearing you talk, they're hearing great ideas, they're probably drawn to want to continue that conversation, share from their experience, or see what is next for you. So this is where we talk about your call to action and how to get them to work with you.
Yeah, so we make it worthwhile for you. At the end of it, we'll figure out how to monetize your podcast. So all of our clients have monetized their podcasts through their own programs and services, but there's many other ways to podcast your show as well, whether that's through affiliate marketing, through joint venture partnerships, through products and services that you're going to talk about in your show, whatever it is that you're going to find a way for you to monetize your show. Otherwise, there's not really any point in putting all this time and effort into something if you're not going to either A, reuse the content for something else, or B, monetize it.
Well, and I want to also mention it's not just about virtual monetization either, because, for example, a friend of mine and I, we started, and she's now a client as well, we started Epic Lifestyles as a podcast for fun. We live in Whistler. We believe that we truly live this amazing lifestyle. People tell us all the time, like, how did you how did you get to Whistler? What did you do? But she's also a real estate agent. And so we're breaking into doing, she's doing her lifestyle locator because she's teaching people about Whistler and why it's so amazing with her lifestyle locator podcast by letting people get to know the different neighborhoods, the different businesses. Whereas on Epic Lifestyles, it's more, again, it's like getting to know people who've come through Whistler who are actually doing something a little bit more extreme with their lives or something that little bit more. And so tagging those two together, it's this beautiful marriage that, I mean, Whistler real estate is pretty epically priced. So even when she's doing share sales and things like that, it's not just selling an online product. You can use it for your real brick and mortar business as well. And I hope that people see that.
100%. And it's, with a lot of people that we work with, their biggest draw for clients is their personality, right? Because you get to work with that person. And a podcast, the audio content, 30 minutes of you talking, it's very hard to be anything but yourself. And so that is all basically marketing of who you are, that people that enjoy you are drawn to work with you. And that's the pull marketing aspect.
And the other point I wanted to make too is, and he said that your Epic Lifestyles podcast, although you might not be directly selling anything from it, it's the relationships that you're building by interviewing those people. And I bet that's expanded your network of influence as well, which then return expands your monetization as well.
Well, it's been amazing. I've met guys who are about to do their PhD in math, which they're working with all of the codes that create all of our passwords online. Most amazing athletes. I mean, I didn't know there was an Epic 5, which was 5 Ironmans in 5 days. So it just, it totally expands your horizon. And as you get to know other people, you build your own personality as well. And we do have a monetization and plan for it. It'll be really interesting. And Michelle, you had some great ideas for that as well. So.
Yeah, and it's all about, that expanding your horizons, or expanding your network, learning new things, showcasing that with the world. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there, that's another angle from it too. So it's such a cool podcast. I love the idea of it too. All right, so Braid, what's next? So this is cool, isn't it? I love talking about podcasting, as you can tell. So, but let us ask you this. If there's a way that you can get your show launched without having to do the editing, marketing, so that you can have more clients, impact, and freedom in as little as 30 days, even if you're crazy busy and have no time, would you take it? I know I would have said a big heck yes if someone had offered this to me when I first started looking at podcasting. Oh, the hours of time that would have decreased in my search for figuring out how to do it all myself.
As Jennifer Love would say, palms up if you agree.
Yes. Right. So what if we told you that there was a breathtakingly easy way to have a podcast, that you won't have to even learn any of the tech and never have to edit a show? That all it takes to get a podcast launched is to press the record button. And those who press the record button are rewarded with automatic content and more free time. So today we want you to have the same benefits, and today we want you to have a community of followers, freedom from technical headaches, and an engaged audience. So those 3 things is kind of like the perfect recipe for lots of future opportunities and business down the road.
Just wanted to touch on number 3 for a second, Michelle. A lot of people ask, what are good stats when you have a podcast? How many downloads? How many listeners? What is a good stat? And our response is, you'd rather have 100 engaged fans than 1,000 raving, or you would rather have 1,000 raving fans than 1 million followers, if that makes sense. You want the people that are engaged and going to follow through on their conversations with you.
I think it's like they say 1,000 true fans or 100 true fans is far more valuable, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I had no idea what I was getting.
You just start to work on your first 40 or your first 20 and just truly have engaged people in your network. It's going to make such a difference.
Yeah, exactly.
And the more niche your talk is, the more engaged that tiny audience will be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So having a podcast really helps you create expert positioning for your brand. Okay, so now you're a media, so you're on the media, a media platform, and it allows you to do pull marketing, as we've said. So we're getting people magnetized to you, your personality, and your topic. and it allows you to impact millions of lives. So if you are thinking about giving it all up and stopping your show, and you think about that one person that really needed to hear your message today, and I can tell you a million stories, and I'll tell you this when we start working together. There's so many stories about people who are, either going to end their lives or leave their husband or wife or do X, Y, or Z, and they listen to this show, and this is what made them stop in their tracks and change their mind and change their life. So I'm not saying it was my show, I'm saying other people's shows. Just those are the things. If you go into recording your show with that in mind, who can I impact today? Who really needs to hear this message? It's going to come back to you tenfold. Without the need to learn all the technology, without the need to learn shout from social media or hunt down clients in as little as 30 days, even if you think no one will listen, even if you think you don't have enough content to talk about, and even if you think you're a perfectionist causing yourself analysis paralysis. It seems impossible, right? You can do it, and we want to be your team. We want to hold you by your hand, walk you through the process of this. So we've created this program called Launch Your Pod in 30 Days. It's 2019. It's time for you to get your podcast out there into the world. That's our true belief. So again, with Ryan, we've talked about his success story, and it's been amazing. Damien was another one of our clients, just launched last week, but he says we are so good to work with. We understand things. We make it understandable, easy, affordable. We remove the burden of them wearing too many hats so that they can focus on what they do best. That was Damien's experience with us. And so we've created this. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So create, record, launch, syndicate, and monetize. And we've broken it down into a really cool program for you. So here's the plan. Braden, do you want to go over this one?
Absolutely. So week 1, we get all the technical stuff out of the way. In fact, actually, before week 1 even starts, we've got the bonus Plan Your Pod, which is where you're going to look at who is your audience, who are you talking to, what similar shows have you listened to, what's your voice, and what is your ultimate goal with this show. So once we know the direction you're going, we dive right in with week 1. We get the technical stuff out of the way. We show you how to handle all of these RRS feeds, syndication, what those things look like. Week 2, we overcome all the barriers that Apple has laid out for us. iTunes can be a little tricky sometimes, but we've learned the tricks of how to get you in there and how to make sure your show gets live in a fairly reasonable time frame. Week 3, we come up with your launch strategy. So this is where we get a whole community of support around your podcast going live. This way you have a number of shows in the bank. When you go live, we send a whole community to go like, subscribe, review. That way you get up further on the new and noteworthy, and you have more downloads because you've got the extra episodes already in the bank. And then week 4, we talk about how do we repurpose that content to free up your time to get more things done, and how do we monetize from that podcast. Want to add to that?
Yeah, no, it's we take you through, hand by hand through all this process, and by the end of it, you'll have a show. It'll be completed. You'll know what to do with it, and then we walk you through what happens after that. How do you go on? What's the schedule you start doing things on? So there's a little bit more to this than what we're letting you know here, but this is the basics of what you're going to get.
Our guarantee is that if you put in the effort, you'll have a show launched with at least one interview done within 60 days.
And the reason that's launch upon in 30 days, but 60-day guarantee is that, it takes sometimes a little bit longer if you don't have a brand, or if you don't, it takes some people a little bit longer to get through the creation part of it until they're ready to get running. So we're not charging you $10,000, although I did just see a very similar package sold on stage in California at the New Media Summit for $10,000. We're going to give you 10 times your investment and give you $10,000 in value instead of charging you $10,000. No other program has 2 coaches that have the experience, especially in artist management, also in the syndication and product creation that Brandon and I do. And we come with a completely done for you option for you as well, which is great, so that we can continue on your podcasting editing for you after we've done the creation of it. So what you're getting is personal strategy session with our podcast team and management. So that's our 2 coaches, 4 live training sessions. So back to this personal training session. This is after we've created the show with you. We've done our 4 training sessions as a group with you. then we want to make sure you cross your T's and dotted your I's before we submit to iTunes so that your show doesn't get rejected. So that's why you have a personal strategization session with us, just to make sure that you've done everything correctly and we've got a show that's really going to get approved. So that's a huge, huge, huge piece. Then we're going to give you access to weekly live group Q&As. So after our 4 sessions are done, you might still have some questions and still working on some things. So that's why we have our group Q&A session. We have them every Thursday. Show artwork and intro and outro edited. So we're going to do all those for you. So we're going to create your show work. We're going to get your intro and your outro put to music for you. And your show, we're going to launch it onto iTunes and syndicate it to 25 channels. So we're going to show you how to do that. So that's $10,000 program for you, an investment of $997. But, and that's Canadian, $997 Canadian for you. But there's a catch. There's a big difference there. There's a catch. You can only get this price if you are in the community of the ladies meeting. So, and Anissa has invited you to this webinar. So we're not advertising this anywhere else. We are only giving you the link to this particular show here. And in fact, our new program coming out and rolling out in the next few months, you can't work with us unless it's a $6,000 investment. So, and that's the truth. And so we're not just saying that to say that for scarcity and get you to sign up, but honestly, we're moving forward into our business. And so the only other way that you can work with us is a $6,000 investment up front and $1,500 a month. And that's our premier program that we're going to be rolling out with in the next few months. So this is the best way to get into working with us right now. And you can thank Anissa for the introduction to us. And because of her negotiation skills, you get it for $997, which is pretty awesome.
Well, and the fact that it's in Canadian, that is so, when you said it was in Canadian, I was so excited. I really,
because everything's in American dollars right now, right? So right now you can launch your pod in 30 days for $997. And you can go there by going to launchyourpod.com. And if all this program did for you was teach you the tech or get you from idea to recording or finally allow you to break free from one day doing it, wouldn't that be worth it? And I would agree that $997 was incredible value for that. So we want to ask you, when is now the right time? Now is the right time. Now is the right time. That is no question. Now is the right time. And I hope it's the right time for you right now.
Is there a special code that they're going to need to put in?
Nope. I've set it up so that they're the only ones that are going to this website right now. So this is an exclusive website for you. You can, I know you have a bonus to share with us in a minute too, and we're going to get to that. So the next steps is that you can be inspired for a few days and forget about this, or you can decide to do it yourself and start Googling it and YouTubing it step by step. The information is all out there. But what the difference is that we are going to take you hand by hand, step by step, and show you exactly what you need to do to get it done in the time frame we're promising you to do it. So you can decide there's no more excuses, no more procrastination, and go to launchyourpod.com and get it done with us, with a group of people. How cool is that? Get your podcast launched without ever learning to edit or syndicate it, and without having to do all that kind of stuff. We'll do it with you for $997, which I think is pretty cool. And Anissa has a really, really cool bonus that she just told us about. Do you want to share with us what your bonus is?
Yeah. So if you are already a member or you're considering being a member, we have a live meeting in Vancouver on the last day of each month, and we are also moving to an online platform. And right now it's $250. So if you have already been a member and you're going to renew, we're going to save you the $250. And in the following years, we're upping our price, and it'll be $500. But today, if you join with Michelle and Braden, you're going to get it absolutely free. So if you already have a membership and you're purchasing, you'll have a credit for next year. And if you're new, you get your complete membership for free. And what that's going to do is, if you're not in Vancouver, where we meet on the last Tuesday of every month, we are building more classes like this so that you'll have availability to the master classes. If you are just starting your business, you're going to have access to lots of different business downloads. So if you haven't got a business plan, if you don't know anything about social media, we have a huge store of opportunities for you to come and use and build your business. And instead of searching all over the internet for what you need to do, or like Michelle said, start Googling, you can come into our community and work on your business and you come into our Facebook group and you've already got your 100 true fans. So this can be such a difference when you're starting a business out on your own, to have that 100 true fans, have other people who've been through it and are willing to assist you and lift you up and help you share your platform of what your message is to the world and grow your income. So I hope that you will take advantage of Michelle and Braden's offer here. And it's also helping us share our message as well. So thanks for your time here today.
Oh, you're welcome. And I just wanted to say that for those of you that are asking right now, our start date for the next program is going to be the last week of April after Easter is when we're starting. So I would get into it now, get launched into it now, because we can't take tons of people into this program. So if you're interested, I would go to launchpod.com and jump in and get all the cool things that we've promised today. And we look forward to working with you. And Anissa, thank you for introducing us to your amazing community. We look forward to helping more of you guys really hone in on your message and get it amplified out into the world.
Cool. And if you want to find out more about the ladies meeting, just join us on theladiesmeeting.com, and we have live events and training, and we'll also have a link to launchpod.com there.
Awesome. And one more thing that we promised you all was a workbook to get started. And you can find that at amplifyu.kyvio.com/workbook. So that is Amplify You. So amplifyu.kyvio.com/workbook. Okay.
Well,
so
and what I'll do is I'll put, it'll take me maybe a day, but I will put a link to that on theladiesmeeting.com/launchyourpod.
perfect. Awesome.
Great to you guys, and you can get your free workbook.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much for having us, Lisa. Appreciate being here.
I'm going to stop the recording now.